That's right. Good morning, everybody. How you doing? Hey, I'm Ann Eller. We are live this morning. We are live. Let's see. Can you see Penny? Penny's live here with us, sporting a new shirt here this morning. How you doing, Penny? She goes, I don't know what's going on here. We got 3 people in studio. This is supposed to be our time, Mom. But anyways, we've got 3 people here today to talk about a very, very, very important issue, something that has our whole community fired up, stirred up, and we're going to be talking about it with three people who have been involved with this project and more since the beginning that it started coming on our radar. So our goal this morning is to help listeners better understand an issue that is going to be discussed by County Council later today. That'll be at 5:30. At the Greenwood Performing Arts Center. It is County Council will be discussing. There are several issues. There is the possibility for a text amendment to go through, allowing data centers in with some conditions, but to allow them in. There's also the issue of a moratorium. And, you know, one of my questions all along has been, what's the rush? Why not do a moratorium and really understand it? But today, we have 3 guests with us who want to discuss it. First up, we're going to talk to Tina Escalona. She is been the one that has helped organize and kept people in the know. She's got a great group that works on Facebook and getting information out to the public. So we're going to talk to her. We're also talking to Dave Schofield. Dave is originally from Loudoun County, Virginia, which is where there is a huge data centers up there. We're going to be discussing what he knows about them. And the thing I like about this discussion today, these are just regular people. That's who we're talking to, regular people today. And our third person is Adam Jackson, and he is going to talk about his trip up to Ohio, I believe that's where he went, Ohio, to check out the data centers that were in question that some of our county council members were going to go to. So, without further ado, let me introduce everybody. So, how y'all doing today?
Very well.
Doing great.
Yeah, doing great. It's great to have you here.
Oh, thank you for making time for us. We're so grateful.
Absolutely. So, Tina, why don't you tell us a little bit about how all your organization and everything got started, how people can help support, too?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We are Greenwood County, South Carolina Residents for Responsible Growth. People can look for us on Facebook under that name. Right now, we're 1,300 residents strong, but we also are associated with the Save Lake Greenwood group, and they have several thousand members. I supported the Lake Honesty Dam initiative a while back, and I worked very closely with Ralph Cushing and that group, and we were very successful with that initiative. From there, we started recognizing that locally, we started recognizing that our infrastructure was not keeping pace with all of these planned development communities that were popping up, and we had friends and neighbors and relatives that were saying, hey, look, I have a pond that was contaminated. It's going to cause the city and the county left me with all of this damage because they did not go through the proper protocols and protections for me as a resident. Infrastructure issues, a lot of issues just emanating from poor planning practices and insufficient ordinances. So we thought it was just a lack of information, due diligence where the systems were failing. So we started to go to, individually, a lot of us started going to some of these meetings, and we found that because we wanted to prepare for the upcoming comprehensive plan and to make sure that these things were done diligently and correctly to correct some of these problems we're being left with and no one's taking ownership of. And that's important as we think about data centers going forward. But we were all speaking individually. There were a group of us at one of the council meetings, and someone approached me, a group of people approached me afterwards and said, hey, look, we need a group. We have been noticing for months. Individually, we've been addressing these same issues over and over, and we're not getting answers. We can go to county council meetings and ask questions, but no one is answering these questions. So in February, we formed a group, not realizing that very shortly after we're addressing planned developments in the Woodlawn, Old Abbeville Highway specifically, which is a very hot spot for some problems that we've been recognizing. Immediately after that, things started to become, people started reaching out to us about planned development out on the Old Ascend area, contaminated issues out there that haven't been addressed since the 80s and those types of things. So as we started to roll, very quickly people started to come to us and join our group and say, look, we've got major issues you don't know about. We've been communicating this for 10 years. No one's answering us, addressing us, or helping us. So that's kind of how we started and how we so quickly grew. Thank God we did, because guess what? As soon as they tried to scoot this in initially over a holiday weekend so that nobody would be prepared for it, we were already organized.
Who scooped this in?
But whenever they first introduced this ordinance, this text amendment
County
to
Council, yes.
County Council to protect us, they did a first reading. They bypassed Planning Commission, which they should have started with first, bypassed that, and they did a first reading. Then they went to the Planning Commission to address that, and that's when we became aware of it. We had already organized, and so that made it a little bit faster. Most counties are being caught unaware of this issue.
Sure.
And it's already approved and permitted before most residents know about it, because our group had already organized in February, a few months before. We were positioned to be able to move more quickly towards that.
Absolutely. So if somebody wants to get involved, Tina, what do they need to do, or how can they reach out to you?
They can find us on Facebook under Greenwood County, South Carolina Residents for Responsible Growth. But come tonight, 5:30, the Greenwood High School Performing Arts Center. We need bodies in that room tonight. We need, and we also need for people to call their council members, not even their council members, call all council members and tell them, you understand that this amendment is going to open the door for these data centers. Shut it down now. Give us the moratorium. You have the tools now. You have a moratorium that was prepared by John McCravey, legally defensible. He is, he's a state representative. He has been in higher level conversations about the risks and the future for these data centers. He knows more about this than any of them do. And you said it at the very beginning. Why the rush? Why the rush? If you really want to protect us, you've got the moratorium in your hands, and you've got the ability to vote that forward and to vote that amendment down. Do it.
That's right. That's right. So this is the discussion. Now, Tina, I'm just asking, you're asking everybody to come tonight. What can they do? Just be supportive and show bodies in the seats there?
Absolutely, because numbers speak volumes, okay? When you have the bodies in the seat, they realize that people take this very seriously. We are not an ignorant population, and we are not a complacent population, and that's what these data center developers prey on. They expect these small communities to be uninformed, to be unmotivated, and not to be engaged or enraged. And
engaged or enraged. I like that. E&E.
Yeah, absolutely. We hope when we leave the Eller is both engaged and enraged. But we want to use this anger productively. Okay, we are upset, and we are justifiably upset. But we are channeling that towards positive action, and not to express anger individually to the council members. Always be respectful, but they need to take us seriously. And how are they going to take us seriously? They're going to take us seriously when we can populate that room, when they can show that we are committed to following this issue all the way through. And we are, believe me, we are.
Well, that's, isn't that what government is supposed to be all about?
Yes.
Isn't it supposed to be that we, the people, are supposed to be involved in the process? And for too long in Greenwood and all across our country, people have not been involved. So I think that is a good thing, as long as it is respectful and doesn't go to some of the levels we've seen in some other communities. But right here in Greenwood, it would do you well. If you, for some reason, you cannot go to the meeting, you certainly can watch it on YouTube. They will be live streaming that. But Tina, I want to thank you for reaching out to me and coming on the show today. I think this is an excellent opportunity for people to find out more about it. And Tina brought us also Dave Schofield. And Dave is, you are originally from Loudoun County. What made you decide to move to Greenwood?
Well, the main thing that I spent a couple years looking around on the internet trying to find a place that we'd like to retire.
Right.
And did a lot of looking, and Greenwood, 96, and the lake had all checking every box for us. We liked the ruralness of being out here, being in Loudoun County, and specifically Ashburn for 15 years. It starts to weigh on you a little bit when you start seeing everything being closed in, land being swallowed up. It's and that was a big draw for us coming out this way.
Well, originally you lived there. It was a beautiful open space, wasn't it? Loudoun County?
It was originally. I mean, and we lived in a neighboring town, Sterling, which is part of Data Center Alley also. We lived there for 15 years also. So that is it was a big draw when we first went out there, but it's shrinking every day now.
Now, what did you do? Are you retired? Are you still working? What do you do?
I'm retired right now. I was a senior computer security engineer, working for DoD, working a lot of military contracts. What we did was we went in and logged on to government networks and got a list of all the existing vulnerabilities that were identified. We use NSA-derived scripts and NSA-derived procedures to find these vulnerabilities and note them, and then reduce the vulnerabilities down to an acceptable level of risk so they could stay on the DoD network.
Wow. Well, that sounds like a pretty high-level job there, sir.
It was interesting. Very
but it
interesting.
was interesting, yeah. So you moved down here. So you have experience as far as living in the environment of data centers. Now, how long have data centers in Loudoun County been around?
Since the early 2000s, once the internet came online, actually Ashburn was one of the first public accessible internet positions so that people could get on the public internet, and that was called May East. It was Metro Area East was a connection for local folks, and AOL started first with their first data centers there.
Really?
And now, yeah.
It's hard to believe. AOL? Come on now. I mean, who even talks about AOL anymore, right? So now, when have you been back since you left?
We've been back, not specifically. We've been through Ashburn. We still have friends that live there. But in all honesty, we'd like our friends to come visit us as opposed to going back and visiting them right now, because it's not the traffic and the congestion and just all the farmland going away, and it's just not as pleasant as it was. Absolutely,
I understand that. So what changed? What happened? What happened there? Give us a little history.
Loudoun County is known as the data center capital of the world, and Ashburn, where we lived, is the hub of what's known as Data Center Alley, and that today transmits about 70% of the world's internet traffic through that area.
70% of the world?
The world's traffic.
Okay.
Because the data centers in Ashburn, there are 3 transatlantic cables that come into Virginia Beach from across the world, and then they terminate, or they come into Virginia Beach, then they have a direct connection to Ashburn and the data centers there. So that's why all that traffic goes through Data Center Alley. And then one reason it goes through there is it has the densest fiber population bundles in the world. And it also has the most dense dark fiber bundles in the world. And the dark fiber is just fiber that's already laid underground but hasn't been lit up yet. So that's available for companies. It's very attractive. And when they first started, they had reasonable power. The costs weren't that expensive. But that's what residents are seeing going up now. I mean, they're looking at a 11% increase coming in 26.
And you've got friends and friends up there that can give you this information. Is that right?
Right. Yeah. We talk to folks that are there, and it's just a lot of them are potentially thinking about moving also. The closer they get, if they're already, some people retired in that area just because it was convenient.
Sure.
And you have local family there.
Sure.
We thankfully were able to bring most of our family here, and then now they've branched out. So, but the people there, if they didn't have family there, they would not be. They would not be living there now.
That is a shame. So talk to us about some of the one thing that we keep hearing about is the noise issue. That's one big issue, right?
Right.
What was your experience?
Well, the noise issues now that they're having a lot of problems with are it's a low tonal sound that produces a hum that goes through walls, goes through the ground. It's a sound that is very aggravating over time. Yeah, people have trouble sleeping when that's going on. The kids are getting sick, and then when the generators are fired up, they're noisy and smelly. And so people aren't enjoying sitting on their decks in their yards and enjoying themselves as a community would like
Sure.
to. So those are the main things that folks are having issues with. And it's also the construction traffic. When you have that many data centers being built,
they tear up your roads, that's for sure, when you have
They
construction going through, yes.
They do. And right now, with Ashburn having approximately 250 data centers and 100 plus in the pipeline, they're not slowing down. So
Where are they putting them? Do they have that much land available?
they've taken a lot of the land as a whole, but they'll build them right next to each other, and they'll build them right next to communities. There's pictures you can see online that show in a couple developments in Ashburn where their backyard ends and the data center is probably 20 feet behind it.
Wow.
So those are the big problems, and Loudoun County didn't until approximately 2 years start the process of having a moratorium and make them
Seems a little late.
It does, exactly. That's why this moratorium right now is a perfect time and needs to happen. This is something that if they don't do this now, they're going to find themselves in a lot of problems going forward. And with a lot of the neighboring counties around us here in Greenwood, having already done that, decided, well, let's take a break here. We need a 1 year moratorium so we can better evaluate this. Because this isn't something you can rough up in a plan and put together in 2 or 3 weeks.
Right.
So this is something that takes time. You need to do some more studies. You need to have more public hearings, get some more input. And I actually have a paper here today that I want to point the council towards, which was one that they haven't, I don't think, had a chance to look at yet.
Great.
This is by the board supervisor for Loudoun County, and he's been putting this paper together for 3 years as something that he can share with other counties for lessons learned, which is perfect. That's
Sure.
the kind of thing that the county needs to spend more time with. And he says he gets 5 to 10 calls a week to come to do symposiums, he'll come and talk to you on the phone. So even if they can't make it there and do that or do a Zoom call, he's accepting phone calls to be able to go over these kinds of issues.
Now, let me ask you something. Is he still employed there with Loudoun?
Is he?
Yes.
The supervisor? Yes.
Yes. I mean, I'm just questioning, right? That the county or the city, whatever, would have somebody in that position, right?
Yeah, and he's there, and the main reason he started putting this together was he realized that a lot of things weren't being documented, and he wanted to specifically put this paper together so that he could share it with folks for just a lessons learned and get a good jump start in what you need to do.
Sounds like transparent government, doesn't it?
Yeah. That does.
And the one thing that Loudoun County is also doing when they have the data centers and they go through the process, they're also requiring public hearings to happen at various stages of this approval process, and not just have 2 quick readings or in a quick 3rd reading and try to move on. So they're a lot more attentive to the public now. It's unfortunate.
Wait a minute. You said now.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been doing this, being a little more public facing and looking out for the public more in the last 2 years. So that's part of the issue that they had since 2005-06, when data centers started becoming apparent in Ashburn from AOL. That's when they should have started something. But of course, at the time, they're just getting a lot of money from developers for data centers. They're looking at this as purely a tax benefit. They're not looking at the strain on the power grid. They're not looking at the pollution. They're not looking at the annoyances of low tonal hums. So they were just looking maybe it seems kind of similar, but they were just looking for, to get some money out of this,
Well, and the tax dollars are significant, or they are significant.
They are significant, but a lot of folks now, one of the things that's going on in Ashburn is that, and they haven't heard this until the last 2 years, is that when folks are trying to sell their house, they're now getting questions of potential buyers as to, can I hear a data center from here? Because,
That's a question you wouldn't expect, right? If you were
they
selling
said-
your house, right?
And they have not had those until the last 2 years. But people are becoming much more involved now and aware. And there's also a development in Ashburn called the Regency, and it's approximately 143 homes. And they're surrounded by 4 data centers now, and they can't enjoy their time as a community. They're having issues with sound. And one of the residents in the community has taken it upon himself to work with the community as a whole. And I think he said with 143 homes, they have all but I think about 6 homes right now that are willing to sell. The data center wants to buy that property for about $567 million. And all they're going to do is bulldoze all the homes and put up 7 more data centers. So the problem just keeps going. So,
Yes, Tina.
We already have a realtor who's reported back to us that people calling into the area inquiring about homes are asking about, are there any data centers there? Are there any future data centers that are coming? People are asking those questions as they plan to relocate here, and it's going to have an impact.
Okay. All right. Well, this is all good information. Now, one question to Dave, and then we're going to move on to Adam here, who's sitting over here in the corner going, me next, me next. Dave, they talk about having enough space in between it to, and they've talked about the trees and this type of thing here in Greenwood as giving enough space.
Right.
What have they done up there in Loudoun County?
They're trying to do similar things. One is they didn't have the amount of trees in abundance in that area. It was a lot of farmland, and so what they're trying to do is push certain setback limits so that will help. But everybody's going with industry standards that haven't been proven yet as far as when a data center goes up.
Sure.
When you have a massive data center go up and it's got 100,000 racks, 300,000 racks of equipment inside, and it needs to have extensive cooling fans on the outside and backup generators, that just emits a lot of noise and hums that are not protected by a typical setback.
Sure, sure.
So that's the issues they're having now is they're trying to figure out ways, and Amazon Web Services has gone in and they spent $40-some million, I think, to try to deaden the sound themselves. And they put on blanket shrouds around some of their turbine fans, and they tried to put extended smokestacks up, or the fan stacks up, so that would help deaden the sound as it goes up. They switched blades to other turbine blades that spin half as fast but create all the same airflow. So if you can spin slower, you create less sound. But they found that although they did all these things, some of those low tonal sounds are still getting through everything. So those are a big issue that they haven't found a way to crack that yet.
Right. Well, these are just all different issues to the data centers. And again, a moratorium, I've got 2 points. 1 point, I do believe that whether you do a moratorium for a year or 2 year, I do believe we will not miss out on a data center if we ever open the door. Tina, would you say that there will always be data centers looking at our place?
Yes, based on what we're seeing and hearing, they are looking for areas with resources. They've depleted resources in other areas. There's not enough water to support them. Even with a closed-loop system, you still need water in their byproducts and those types of things. So absolutely, I think that opportunity is going to be available. And interestingly enough, Governor DeSantis in Florida has made a strong statement saying that we may have data centers in the future, but it is going to serve the citizens of Florida. We are going to evaluate this, have standards, and have the right solution for for Florida, not the data center developers. And that's exactly what we need locally and statewide. We need our interests preserved and protected, because once our water and our land are corrupted or depleted, we don't get those back. This is important, folks. Show up for this.
That's right. So we have a county council meeting this evening where first up on the agenda is to pass that text amendment. I believe that's where that is headed, right? The text amendment is up first. The moratorium is up second. I don't know what will happen here tonight, but it is definitely in your benefit to either be at the meeting. They would love to have you at the meeting. That is at Greenwood Performing Arts. Or to watch it on the stream if you cannot make it to the meeting. So we're now going to talk to Adam here, Adam Jackson. How about tell us, where are you from, Adam?
I am actually originally from Virginia, the Virginia Beach, Chesapeake area.
Okay.
And my wife is from this area, and so back in 2016, I believe we moved here. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Now, how did you get involved in the data center project here?
I don't remember what it was that initially caught my attention. I saw something on Facebook, I think is where I saw it, and I reached out to Tina and said, are you aware of this? And there's a county meeting, and she's like, yeah, be there. So that's kind of how I got involved.
Is there some property or something that is possibly near where you live? Or?
No. Well, possibly. Hodges may be a site that they're looking at.
Okay.
But the main thing is it just felt like council was putting the cart before the horse. They're making regulations for something they don't understand how to regulate, or putting zoning ordinances in place that really have no empirical experience to base it on. It's just kind of this theoretical. Initially, they even wanted to regulate the data center facilities the same way they would regulate any other building of that size.
Sure.
And, it's like comparing an apple and an orange. They are not the same thing.
So you got involved in the project, and then what I understand is you actually went to Columbus, Ohio. Is that where you went?
Yes.
And why did you go to Columbus?
Well, council mentioned that I think 3 members of council were going to go to Columbus to look at the data centers there and to speak to people in the community. They said they were going to go knock on doors and actually talk to people about their experience. And if there's one thing I know about politicians, it's, trust but verify. So
Absolutely.
I wanted to go see for myself. So I knocked on doors and I talked to people in the community, and I'm very interested.
What did you find out?
Well, I met with a really great gentleman named Brandon Bernard, who is involved in the data center regulations there, trying to prevent more from coming. He actually took me to a tour of the whole town, showed me, all this pristine farmland that used to be there and is now being bulldozed. Essentially, it's kind of like Locust. They got one in the door, which I think was Meta in 2017, if I remember correctly, and then they just kept spreading. They kept buying up farmland right around them, which I think is desirable because it's already flat and it's already open. So they don't have to cut down a lot of trees or anything to put their facilities up. And it's just really, really depressing to see kind of what the town used to look like and what it looks like now. And it's interesting because everybody that has data centers in their community, if they came in before they were able to stop them, now they're putting moratoriums in place. It's not like they're welcoming more in. They're disgusted with what is already there. So I met with Brandon. Then I went to a petition signing a couple days later, met with a really nice woman named Nancy who lives about a mile from Meta. Mm-hmm. And she was talking about the noise disruption, the light disruption, and also the fact that now she's stuck there. She couldn't sell her home if she wanted to. So
well, that's
she's
an
trapped.
Interesting point right there. She cannot. You're saying she cannot sell her home for value, I guess we
Correct.
should say.
Yeah.
Because she could probably sell it, but not for value, what it should be worth. Is
Yeah,
that right?
the fortunate ones are the ones that live on a piece of property that the data centers want, because at least they'll buy it and bulldoze it. The neighbors are unfortunate because they're never going to get the equity back out of their home. If they sell it, they're going to sell it at a loss, and honestly, a lot of people just have no desire to live anywhere close to a data center from what I've seen.
Well, what surprised you about what you saw?
The scale of the development there, Meta, Google, Amazon, and I think it was Intel essentially have a part of the town they just bought, they've acquired, and built all of their complexes there together, which ended up spanning 4.65 miles long by, I think it was 0.65 miles wide.
Now, was that outside the town? I mean, give us an idea.
It was in an area that used to be rural, so it was primarily farmland.
Right.
And now, the town is kind of around it. The property is encroached so much that there's people living right across the street from the data center complexes.
Could you hear noise?
Yeah, I actually took sound readings. So I went to a local church, a local elementary school, a high school. The decibel A metered sound would vary. If you were close to the data centers, it was 62, 63 decibels. Mile and a half away from the data centers, the decibel C weighted sound was still at 62 to 63 decibels, and that's just with the cooling fans running. They actually had a post while I was there, so I spoke to Nancy about it. The night before I left, they fired up the generators, and people that were a mile and a half away were saying it sounded like a freight train going through their living room in the middle of the night. And the generators have to be fired up regularly for maintenance and to make sure
sound
everything's
carries
working.
differently at night, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
So, were you there at night? Did you hear these sounds?
I did not hear those sounds. I was actually camping at a campground about 10 miles away, so I did not hear it, but all over Facebook, I mean, there were just tons of posts about.
Do we think that, this, I'm going to play devil's advocate for just 1 second. Do we think that people are just having angst about this, or is this real?
I think people are having angst, but I think the angst is based on their real experience.
Okay.
So, in fact, in Ohio right now, the gentleman Brandon reached out to me yesterday. They, because they're a charter community, they're able to basically override their council with enough votes. So they have gotten together, done petitions, and Columbus, Ohio, Pataskala, Ohio, which is right next to where all the data centers are. It's like the next town over where they're trying to build. And there was one other area in the kind of New Albany, Columbus area. They've all gotten enough petitions to stop any future data centers from coming in. So once again, the ones they've got are so disruptive to their lives that they're now putting in legislation to stop any more. And interestingly, people working for the data centers doing some of the construction were some of the main ones signing the petitions. They said they would much rather be working on a hospital or some other site. It's disrupting their lives enough that the money they're making is not worth it.
Well, Adam, what is one question you believe Greenwood residents should ask before a data center is approved?
I think the main question is what's in it for us as a community. We know what's in it for the data centers. They can come in, they can make a lot of money over time, they get tax incentives. When I was speaking to the people in Ohio, the Meta did invest some in the community, so they did $250 vouchers for kids to go to a tech class over the summer to learn how to work at the data centers.
Okay.
There are some construction jobs, but the data centers typically, instead of hiring people and training them over and over again, they just have traveling crews that come in that do the bulk of the construction and the installation. And the only real investment that the town got was the fire department got some money because they had to train on how to deal with unique hazards from the data centers. Mm-hmm. And I think the police department also got some money. But the roads are crumbling around. If you go to the data center complex, it's pristine. It looks like a wonderful planned community. Everything around it, you've got potholes and cracked roads and the standard of living for the people there is not improving. In fact, they're seeing their power rates increasing. It's not astronomical yet, but every year their power rates are going up.
Well, thank you very much. That was Adam Jackson. Now, I want to go back to Dave for a second. I want to ask you the same question. What is the one question you believe Greenwood residents should ask before a data center is approved?
I'd have to follow along with Adam. I mean, I think you have to find out how we're going to benefit from a data center. I guess they'll say a lot of things as to what we're going to get from data centers. But if you look back historically at other communities that have had data centers, they don't get that. Over a long time, there's a trade-off between saving a little bit on your tax side, your county taxes, for having your property values actually go down. Living near a data center does not increase your property value whatsoever, per what Adam just mentioned. But I think that's some of the things that need to be explained a little better, and have some more town hearings and public hearings on that, so that folks can get a better idea as to how do I benefit from this.
And how does the community benefit?
Right. And how are we going to actually sustain this over time without having to, initially they're saying there's enough power to supply everybody, don't worry about it. Well, that'll happen to not be true as we go forward with this. I mean, they just can't. I mean, when Virginia Dominion Power can't provide power sometimes to the place and says it'll be 2 years before you can connect to the grid, it can happen. So that's one of the things that I think need to look at and have. Really, we need to have the outline for this amendment that the council's put forward. I think is a very nice outline. I just don't think there's meat behind it. So if they spend this 1 year moratorium, spend the time to really flush that out, they'll have a solid document at that point.
I think that's good.
And can I mention one more thing?
I don't know, Adam. Okay, go ahead.
I think one thing that's really important to recognize too is at that initial planning commission meeting, the entire planning commission unanimously voted for a 2-year moratorium.
Right.
So they are in support of taking the time to do this right. So far, county council has agreed to consider a 1-year moratorium. I think we really need to get that moratorium in place, put the horse before the cart. Let's not regulate after the fact. Let's not put a moratorium in after the zoning ordinance have been updated. Let's do this right and make sure that the citizens are protected.
You are so right. Now, Tina, what is the one question you believe Greenwood residents should ask before a data center is approved? And I'm going to let you take it home and wind it up, because we have sitting in the bullpen out there Representative John McCravey.
And we're so thankful for Representative John McCravey, because right now County Council does have in hand a 2-year legally defensible moratorium that he took the time to craft based on his expertise. They don't need to recreate one. We have what we need in their hands, and anything else is very suspect. My question is, why are we allowing a Duke Energy executive, with Duke Energy being one of the primary stakeholders and entities that will benefit from data centers in this area and the expansions, and one of our primary risk factors in some areas, electrical rates have nearly doubled, and in other areas they've exceeded doubling. Why are we letting this person with this agenda work so quickly to force this through on us, when the right avenue, the logical avenue, is, like Dave and Adam both have recognized, and even Representative McCravey has recognized here at the state level, what he's seeing and what he's hearing is that this moratorium makes sense. It makes sense for the citizens. We need to put this in place so that we are protected. Every county council member should be concerned about the repercussions for the citizens who have been paying taxes for years, who are located here, and protecting our quality of life. That is their job, to protect us, to defend us, and to act in our best interests. And we don't feel that that has been happening, and we feel that we have been betrayed. And their vote tonight against that amendment and for this moratorium, as John wrote it, will demonstrate whether they care about the citizens, our quality of life, and their loyalty to us and what's right. There's no question here about what's right and what's wrong. In a lot of issues, you have a lot of gray area. There's no question. What is right is the moratorium that they have. What is wrong is the amendment that they're trying to pass that will open the gates and pave the way for data centers. It's clear.
Tina, I think we do need to just correct that the county council chairman is retired now from Duke Energy.
Recently retired. These
Yes.
Discussions have obviously and clearly been going on for quite some time. He's only recently retired, so the public should not let that sway them in terms of the fact that all of these conversations, this setup, these negotiations, everything that he's been doing while he has been in that seat, elected in that seat, being paid $15,000, which isn't a lot, but that's $15,000 of our tax money. We depended on him, we elected him, and we trusted him to defend our interests, and he has not done that. And all of the other county council members have the opportunity to stand him down, and we are depending on them. They have to do it. You're in a position now that you're either for the citizens, for justice, for what's right, for transparent government, or you are for a small group of people who are profit minded and they don't care about the quality of life and the impact for us. The answer is clear. Make sure you call your county council representative, call all of them and tell them, you understand that they're trying to game the system, and they have to this point, and we understand it, and we are going to fight against it.
Thank you very much. That was Tina Escalona. We've had Dave Schofield here and Adam Jackson. There is no question that this question needs more investigation. Correct? Correct. And that taking the time to review and to make sure when we do this that we get this right. And as you can see, Penny is very involved in the conversation. She don't care. I'm Ann Eller right here with you. We are going to take a real short break here. We'll be right back. We're going to have Representative John McCravey come on, talk about the amendment that he did for the moratorium. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming on today. Thank you so much, Tina.
Thank you.
That's right. Dave, thank you.
Thank you for allowing this.
Absolutely. Yes. And Adam, it's good to see you again.
You too. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. So let's going to drop the curtain here for we're not going to drop the curtain. We're actually going to... What are we going to do, Ann? We're going to take a commercial break here. We'll be right back. Don't you go away.
Hey y'all, this is your old blues buddy Shrimp City Slim, calling your attention to the fact that the 25th annual Greenwood Blues Cruise and South Carolina Festival of Discovery is coming back to Uptown Greenwood July 9th through the 11th. Of course, if you know, you know. 80 plus barbecue teams competing for national prizes, 30 national blues artists performing free shows day and night for 3 days. It's going to be incredible. And it's fun for the whole family. Everybody's invited, and we want to see your face in the place. Festival of Discovery 2026, the 25th annual Greenwood Blues Cruise. Find out more information at www.uptowngreenwood.com, and we'll see you there.
Have a favorite blizzard from Dairy Queen? Did you know you can make it into a Dairy Queen blizzard cake?
DQ. Happy tastes good.
Make every occasion special with a blizzard cake only from your local Dairy Queen on the 72 bypass. Order one today.
Happy tastes good.
So make your next occasion extra special with your favorite Blizzard as a cake. Only from Dairy Queen.
DQ. Happy tastes good.
Step up to the plate with Greenwood American Legion Post 20, celebrating our 85th consecutive year of proud tradition. This season brings new energy with head coach Corby Long leading the way, building champions in baseball and softball on and off the field. From the diamond to the dugout, we're more than a team, we're family, and it's the best deal in town. Kids 12 and under are free. Join the tradition, bring the family, be part of Post 20's legacy today.
Keep on sharing. The phones are open. Keep on laughing. Give us a call. You gotta keep on caring. As long as you've got a voice, don't ever stop. As long as you've got truth, don't ever stop. You're on the air. As long as you've got love. What's on your mind?
Oh, that's right. We're right back here, WCRS Radio. We just had Adam Jackson, we had Dave Schofield, and we had Tina Escalona talking to us about data centers. We're now going to be joined by John McCravey. And even though I have John McCravey's number up there as Tina and Dave and Adam, which I'm going to fix right now. I haven't quite figured out how to do all this without a hitch. So we're going to put John McCravey's name up there. John, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Ann.
This is a really, really big issue, isn't it? The data centers.
It's developed into one of the biggest issues in the state as well as Greenwood County. And
what can you tell us from a state perspective? I know you didn't get a moratorium done, but what is happening?
No, there were actually 5 bills filed in the Senate and the House of Representatives this last session. The Senate approach, I think, if you would look at it from looking at all those bills together, really the Senate is thinking about having a statewide agency or office that would review every data center that comes into our state. Now, I don't think that would affect the federal lands, and certainly we could put data centers on the Savannah River site and places like that. There would be little or no controversy. And let me say this to start with. You know, I appreciate you, Ann, and getting the word out on this. And you know, data centers are something that we need in our nation. You know, it's become a national security issue. And like I said before, you know, President Trump and his people have contacted the House Republican caucus. They have asked us to be friendly toward data centers, and I'm friendly toward them on a state level, but I think they need to be put in the right place. And so, you know, they're very just like a nuclear plant. You wouldn't just put one in Hodges, I hope. You know, they affect so much more than just a structure, just some construction, just having
just
a structure
building.
there.
Yeah,
right. I mean, we've seen that, you know, they affect water, infrastructure, noise. They have just so many issues that come along with property values as a result of that. And so the place to put them is the real thing, and also regulating them. You know, some of these things, I don't even understand the scale of the water that some of them use, like 20 million gallons an hour or something outrageous. It's on such a scale I don't even understand.
It's kind of like the word trillion, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
And we need to think about, you know, our power supplies. These things should generate their own power, and that's one of the bills that, in several of these bills, that's a common theme, that the taxpayer shouldn't be, and the ratepayer shouldn't be responsible for subsidizing these things.
Well, what kind of power would what kind of power is being thought of for this?
Well, there's several alternatives. You know, there's gas-fired power plants that have been put up with these in other states. There's a proposal to do a gigantic one in Ohio, I think, that would, you know, generate enough electricity to power most of the state, and it would just be for the data centers right there on site. So it can be that big of a thing. And so what the state has looked at, and you know, what the state has looked at is putting these things in the right places. One of the bills talked about putting them in places where we've already got problems, or that there's no development, like the Savannah River site, like closed military installations, maybe even like Fort Jackson. They've talked about that. But, you know, I think we've got to be responsible about this, and I think, you know, the Senate has got some really good. They got one really good bill that's very, very intensive, and it would create a data center development office in the Department of in DES. Now, you know, I don't know if we need that or not, but I think it's something we ought to look at. And I think the three bills filed in the House kind of go toward that. And two bills call for a moratorium of 2 years while we can study this, you know, because look, our legislation moves slow. I mean, it's meant to be that way. You know,
Correct.
The Senate and the House and the executive, you know, working together to try to get something done.
The Senate is really slow.
And it takes time.
Right.
You know, and even on a local level, you know, we need to have hearings to determine, you know, I've heard Duke Energy, and I'm a fan of Duke Energy. I think they do a great job. But let me say this. They're there to make profit for their shareholders.
Sure.
And I've heard, you know, in Columbia, we hear, well, we need to facilitate more energy. We're running out of energy in South Carolina. This is what Duke Energy is telling us. We're running out of energy. We had a brownout. We could have had a blackout in South Carolina. We've got to generate more energy. But then I hear them come to Greenwood and they say, we've got plenty of energy to handle a data center. We have no problem with that. So I'm just kind of wondering where that's coming from. But anyway, and maybe there's a good explanation for that. I don't know. It just doesn't sound consistent to me. But the taxpayer and the ratepayer should not have to pay for these things. They're very profitable for these companies that put them out there. And
they are very profitable. Who are you talking about? The energy companies?
Yes, for the data center clients, they're very profitable. You know, Meta and all these that construct these. So I just think, you know, I went before council. I don't like to get involved in trying to supplant what our local government does. You know, I'm elected to go on a state level and go down there and fight for my constituents.
It's unusual for you to get involved.
And I don't normally get involved in something like this. The main reason I got involved is not just because I'm a state representative, but I'm a resident of Greenwood County.
Sure.
I live in Hodges, South Carolina.
Right.
And it concerns me that we move too fast. I don't want to see us move too fast and get into a place where there's nothing we can now do about it. You know, there are legal ramifications for everything, you know, and so if we pass a law quickly that allows somebody to put in a permit and then we try to take that back, you know, that could be a taking. Mm-hmm. You know, that could be something that could be a legal ramification for. So I just, you know, I did give council a draft of a moratorium that would be legally defensible, and I handed it up, and I told them they could throw it in the trash can if they wanted to. It's up to them. I'm not trying to tell them what to do, but at the same time, as a citizen, I'm concerned about it. And so that's where I'm at. We really need to have a discussion at the state level. It needs to continue, and I think it will. We got 5 bills with 40-something sponsors at the state level.
Now, let me ask you.
This is going to be a topic, one of the top issues in our state next session.
Well, let me ask you something now. Can bills that started this session, do they carry over or do they die? I'm not sure.
Technically they die, but they'll be reintroduced.
Okay.
So all these, I expect to see even more than these. We got 5 right now. We'll probably have 10 or 15 that'll be pre-filed before the upcoming session, and the representatives and senators that filed these will probably refile them again. I just think we've got to have, and I would advocate for an ad hoc committee just to study this one issue, maybe a joint committee with the House and the Senate. And I think that's a great possibility that what may happen. So
should they act though to put the moratorium on, do you think, John, or should we let individual counties across the state do their thing, for lack of a better way to say it?
Well, that's a good question. And, you can always look at anything from a state level or a local level.
Correct.
And so looking at it from the local level, our council has to decide what's best for Greenwood County. On a state level, we've got to decide what's best for the state of South Carolina. And sometimes on a state level, we do get down to the details of our local government. And we do that a lot. We've restricted how much local government can raise your taxes and how they can do it on property taxes. We restricted that before I got in, but nevertheless, we've continued to do that. And so there are a lot of different, we just got through stopping counties from going too far with boat taxes. They were taxing boats at such a rate that people, they couldn't even afford to have a boat. So we had to step in on some things. So I think this might be one of those areas where the state needs to step in and say, hey, we're going to do a real study on this. The county doesn't have as many resources as the state does. So we have the resources to look into this, to get the experts, to have them come and testify and spend the time on it that it needs. So I think a moratorium is a great idea while we're developing policy that's going to help, that's going to take into account not just economic development and profit for local government, but also the citizens out here who own property, who don't want their property to be devalued, who don't want to have to put up with some of the things that data centers bring with them. So I think there's a balance in there that needs to be explored, and it needs to be done in a methodical way, so we don't just jump ahead and do something quickly.
Now, John, you did this moratorium, and I remember you were at council that night, and you said it was, quote, I believe, legally defensible. It would hold up. Do you know whether the moratorium that has been put on the in county council for a first reading, did they use that amendment, or do you know?
I actually have not seen what they put up, but I'm assuming that it's close to that, and I think if they have the findings in there that of all the concerns and things like that, then I think it's legally defensible. So I would assume that what they have would be defensible. But it's just another option that they have. And I'm, as a citizen, not as a state representative, but as a citizen, I would encourage them to look at this moratorium and take the time to make sure we're doing what's right for our
I think
area.
all you have to do is look across the state and see other places that are either have put a moratorium in or are backtracking on some of the things to put a moratorium in.
That's true. That's very true. I know Spartanburg has had a lot of controversy on this. They permitted 1 or 2, and they've had so many troubles with them already. I don't even think they're built yet, but they're having issues already, and so they actually did pass a moratorium, I think, in Spartanburg County. I'd like to see us learn from that and do the same thing.
Exactly. And I guess my next question is, and I've said this on the air several times, what's the rush? I mean, is there going to be another, if there are some data centers out there wanting to come here, will there be more data centers that will come here when the time is right?
If it's a national security issue, we've got plenty of places to put these things. We can lease land at Savannah River site, and I think there's been some movement on the part of the government to do that already. I think they've identified 13 sites that are ready to go at Savannah River site for these things, and they can lease that federal land. And so I'm not worried that much about the national security side of it because there are places to put them. I am concerned about the community side of it.
Sure.
And so that's, to me, where we need to stop and take our time. I don't see a rush. We need to protect our ratepayers. We need to protect our water resources. We need to protect property values. We just, we need to make sure that we have enough energy to not have a blackout in our homes like they've threatened at Duke Energy. And I will say this, there may be a profit motive there.
Right.
Sometimes you follow the money. I do know that Duke Energy has told their shareholders that data centers are part of their ability to increase their profit and revenue. So, I think they are looking at this as a way to increase their business and make a bigger profit. So I think, it's not 100% altruistic to try to say that they support these. There is a self-interest there. We live in a capitalist society. We have to remember that. People are out to make money.
You have to always remember this phrase, John, follow the money.
That's right.
That's right.
So I'm one of two representatives I know that do not take money from special interests. I don't take money from Duke Power. They're good people. It's not that I don't like them. It's just that I don't want to be seen as being influenced by any of these special interests. So I don't take their money. But I do appreciate what they do. I don't want to say that there's anything wrong with them.
So now, but there is another side to this puzzle. How about people being able to, if they want to sell their property for this? That is another question, isn't it?
It is, but local government, the planning commission, they'll tell you that what you do does affect other people. So, what if you want to sell your land to construct a prison right next to a residential neighborhood?
Or school.
You're going to destroy, right next to school. There's reasons not to do that.
Right.
We don't have liquor stores right next to a school either.
Right.
And there are reasons for that. So, we've just got to think about the whole and do what's right. So, if a landowner wants to make a profit, that's fine, but we just need to make sure that it doesn't affect other landowners that are right next to them,
So as we wind this up, John, so you're saying that next term that there should be some legislation or ad hoc committee that should be coming down the pike from our state?
I expect that. I really do. With the amount of interest, all these bills being filed, the discussions that are going on, I think it's going to be a topic of strong interest. It's going to be at the top of the list next session.
Now, what would you hope that lawmakers accomplish by this?
Well, look, it's a balancing act. So, we do want to encourage economic development in our state. There's no question about that. The question is, it's not particularly for me, and I think most lawmakers, it's not whether we get data centers in South Carolina. I think we need them.
Right.
The question is where and how are they regulated? So how are they going to affect the neighborhoods around them? How are they going to affect our communities? And whether they're going to, it's going to cost our citizens. Our power bills are high enough already. I just got an adjustment on mine, and it went way up. So, the power grid costs are important for us to consider, the water burdens, the burden on our water supply.
Well, how about just the ground, if there's any runoff or anything like that?
And you got environmental considerations,
yes,
you really do. And so our quality of life is important too. And Governor McMaster used to say there were two main reasons people come to South Carolina. One of them is the climate, and we got a great natural resources here, but the other is the people. And so we want to preserve both. We don't want hurt our people here. We want them to be able to come and retire to South Carolina, a military veteran, for instance, and know that they're not going to be affected by the things they're leaving in New York and California. You know, we want them to come to a state that stays beautiful, that stays in a good, that we protect our climate and our environment. And I didn't mean climate. That's the wrong word. I'm sorry. Environment.
Environment. There you go.
And so I think that's very important to protect our resources, you know. And so
well, once they're gone, I mean, once a data center is here, there's no saying, let's go back, is there?
That's exactly right. I mean, you know, once you open the door, and I heard a gentleman this morning on your show, I was listening on the radio, but I heard him say, you know, that once they got one in, it was kind of like they got their foot in the door.
It's dominoes.
And then more came right in after that. Well, you've got one, why not have another one? You know, what's the difference? And so it turned into a gigantic thing of people walking in and putting these things up everywhere. So, you know, I think we need to stop. There's enough. I mean, what other issue have you ever seen this many people come out and be concerned about in our community? I've never seen one.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, and so I think that by itself tells us that we need to slow down. You know, when we have that many citizens concerned, we got to listen to the citizens, you know, that live here. And so I just think, you know, that we do elect our representatives, but they need to listen to us, and I'm hoping that they will. And so, but I try to do that in Columbia. You know, when Ann tells me, you know, watch out for this or what's going on with this, I try to respond. I listen, you know,
right.
and I think we need to be humble enough to do that. So I think a pause would be an indication that council is humble and they want to listen to what the people are saying, and they want to study this for the benefit of the people. And so that's why I think a moratorium would be a good thing. And I applaud council for bringing up a moratorium and actually having one to consider. I think it's a great idea.
Absolutely. So what's the one question you believe Greenwood residents should ask before a data center is approved? Is there one question that you think that should be asked? I've asked everybody this, so.
Well, I'm a kind of a practical person. My question is, if the Planning Commission voted, 10-0?
Yes.
For a 2-year moratorium, these are the citizens of Greenwood that have been appointed to consider this. Why wouldn't we take their advice? And that's just my question. Nobody's been able to answer it yet, but that's my question.
That's true. That's true. Well, anything else you'd like to add here today, John?
I don't think so. You know, I do want to walk around there and pet Penny just a little bit before I go, if that's okay.
All right. We can do that. Listen, this has been a great conversation here today. We've had citizens concerned about Greenwood. We've had John McCravey here today. I'm Ann Eller. Penny has been sitting there not too impressed with what's going on today, but we'll be back tomorrow and we'll have impressive things that Penny wants to talk about. So that's going to do it for us. Make sure you tune in at 4 o'clock this afternoon. We start our interviews with all the blues artists that are going to be here at the Festival of Discovery and Blues Cruise. You can go back and watch this, share it, like it, do whatever. We're on Facebook Live and on the radio. Go to WCRS Radio to share this broadcast. Thank you so much. This will do it for me. This is WCRS Radio. Take it away. Cue the music.